Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Declaration of conflicts of interest. Does anybody have a conflict?
None.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. Then can we have a mover and a seconder?
Moved.
Thank you. Second. Okay, great. And Carrie, thank you very, very much for doing the minutes. There's great detail there, and I saw my name 3 times. And it's like, okay, I've been out of the province. But anyway, thank you very much for that. That'll keep us on the ball. The minutes are approved as moved and seconded. Any objections?
None.
Motion carried. Approval of the agenda. All right, we're going to change things around. We're going to take one part of the sustainability part up, and Mayor Brown will speak to us on the grand opening of the bypass path, phase 1. He'll speak to that now. And then from that, we'll go back to our agenda with the plan for the September meeting. Is everybody in agreement?
Good.
Does anybody else have any more changes to the agenda?
Could I just add quickly after this item, there was a letter to the editor from Kenny Murnion, who was former president of the BIA, Prince Edward Island Brain Injury Association, and he talked about signage to warn cyclists to wear their helmets because it is the law.
Sure. So you want to speak to that as well, Mayor?
It's just a quick item. Yeah.
For sure. That's important. Okay. So after Mayor Brown has spoken to those 2 items, then we'll move into the plan for September meeting.
Good.
All right. Take it away, Mayor Brown.
So I spoke to Doug Dumais. Doug is the community engagement officer for the city regarding the grand opening or the opening of the active transportation pathway on Riverside Drive. He touched base with Ramona Doyle and Katrina. I believe Katrina was part of this planning that we're looking at. So she has suggested, and I'll send this email off to you, Joanne, and then you can forward it to the other members. We have tentatively selected Friday, September 17th at 2 p.m. as our date for the grand opening of the bypass or Riverside Drive Phase 1 pathway, shared pathway. There will be a press meeting with dignitaries at the Hillsborough Community Center. Then we're going to ask Bike Friendly Charlottetown if they would host a guided ride that would take us down the new pathway by the hospital and back on the trail behind the hospital, returning to the community center. We will have refreshments back at the community center, and we will issue a formal invite to all levels of government, members of council, and members of the Mayor's Active Transportation Task Force. The date is tentative because we need to check on elections requirements for the federal election on September 20th, but I don't think that'll be a problem. But this is our tentative plan for now. And this all has to follow protocol because there are funds that came from the two other levels of government, federal and provincial funding. So all those other levels have to be part of the announcement of the opening of this new shared pathway. So it's tentative right now, but we're looking at September 17th. And I believe September 17th is a Friday. Yeah. And I think it'll be a great idea to open this. I wanted to open, my wish was to open it sooner to encourage young cyclists and families to get out and use it as a way of getting to one part of your neighborhood to the other part of your neighborhood, or taking a cycling ride across the bridge to Nimrod's or McDonald's in Stratford, but just to get people out in doing a lot more participation. So September 17th, I think the task force was looking at this as a date sometime in September, and I think that fits all the request or discussion that we had at the last meeting.
I think that's great.
I do too. Hi, Margaret. Welcome to the meeting. I think it's wonderful that, yeah, you've picked that date. That should be good. Would you look at a rain date, or you guys bike in rain or shine?
I think when the bridge opened, I don't think they had a rain date, but that's something we'll put in the minutes to ask if we have a possible rain date, which could be the next day. Hey, Margaret. So yeah, I would recommend that we do suggest that there should be, or it would be a good idea to have a rain date and time.
Okay,
Which could be a Saturday.
Sure, and I'm just, yeah, okay. The only other thing you could do is, go ahead, because you've got the dignitaries and everybody booked. And then maybe for the ride part, you might need a rain date. I don't know, like, because you've got the dignitaries lined up for the Hillsborough Community Center. So, maybe that just the ride portion might have to go to a rain date. Yeah. Mayor Brown.
See, what we did, Carrie, you were at the bridge. We did the ribbon cutting at the beginning of the bridge. I don't know how we're going to do this with the, Carrie everything taking place at the community center and then doing the bike ride. So I may ask Ramona, look, Ramona, let's just have a tent or some kind of shelter at the corner of Murchison Lane and Riverside Drive and do the official opening. And then it's not so much time in speeches, but just quick intro, give some background, and then cut and move on. So I think that's what I'll be suggesting to do. Okay. There's a green space, where the signage is for, where you have the signage for the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Well, there's a green space just in there, and that's the start up the Riverside Drive or bypass shared pathway up to St. Peter's Road.
The hospital parking lot provides parking too, so that's
good. People. Good point. Good point. Yeah. I think, and Carrie was there, Carrie, the significance of it opening right at the beginning of the bridge had a lot more, I believe it was a lot more impact. And I think that people get the sense of, wow, okay, we're ready to move.
Yeah, I agree. The ribbon cutting should be at the pathway.
Yeah. And, and Carrie, Joe, it adds to that connectivity between the two pathways, where you have to cross the intersection to get onto the pathway to take you parallel along Riverside Drive up to St. Peter's Road. Mm-hmm. So that's I'll be suggesting that. But the date, September 17th, 2 p.m. And we'll ask for a rain date and maybe a change in location for the ribbon cutting.
Sounds good to me. And you won't be constrained by cohorts, because apparently the province is opening up on September the 12th. And it may be that, you want to send out groups of people anyway, just to keep it not getting congested, a whole lot of cyclists all at once.
Yeah.
I don't know. So will Ramona work with Bike Friendly Charlottetown on that, or?
I think she's already initiated it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. And if we don't have the space at that corner, we do have that southwest corner of the parking lot. We can go there first, and then just walk over to the beginning of the shared pathway on Murchison Lane.
Yeah.
I would just be remiss if I didn't say, if you were hoping to get families or children there, then 2 p.m. is then
It's going to be
you would-
difficult.
yeah, they would still be in school. Even a 3 p.m. start might be a little, but again, there's probably a lot more factors.
Yeah.
To that.
Yeah,
But
and Carrie, it could be, it's a good point. School is already in, so it could be a 3 or 3:30 start.
if possible, if you were hoping to get children or families involved.
Yeah. I want to get people there, like all age groups and families, to say, hey, this is a great pathway to get from point A to point B to point C, across the Hillsborough Bridge, and just create that active transportation mindset, or enhance that active transportation pathway mindset to get
The
people
only
using.
difficulty is if you're using the location there at the hospital, I think there's a shift change, usually around 3:30, is there not, in the staff? There's an awful lot of traffic that comes out of there between 3 and 3:30. I'm not sure if that's a changeover, if that's something that City Hall wants to look into as well there
Yeah.
before you pick a time.
Yeah, and I was looking more, Joanne, at the end of August, like August 31st, 1st of September, before school started. But it just didn't work out because possibly the other levels of government just couldn't make it work.
Yeah.
But
No.
we want people there to actually use it. And if we had to do it on Saturday, I'd do it on Saturday.
Sure. One thing I'd suggest is maybe Robbie Doherty would go on CBC radio the morning before the ride and make an announcement that this is what's happening on the date of. A lot of us seniors aren't as good with Instagram and the other. I mean, some people are on Facebook but they don't catch that media only. And we still read The Guardian and we listen to CBC, the old traditional. So I know Robbie handles a lot of the publicity, so that might be a suggestion too. You know how Island Morning does that call in to say what the coming events are, and the radio show, and they usually do it about 8:35 on the Tuesday before your event, and they tape it, and then they'll play it on Main Street and Island Morning for the rest of the week.
Yeah, well, the breaking news there, Joanne, Robbie Doherty has moved on.
Oh,
He has a new job with Holland College alumni
good.
and TSN Sports.
Oh, wonderful.
But we do have a job posting going out. So if you're interested in doing social media for the city of Charlottetown, just go online and apply.
Does it pay well?
Very well. So well, you'd never want to move off this island.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to check it out.
Check it out. Oh no. Now Doug is doing a lot of that.
Is it posted? Is the wage posted?
Margaret, I think that's part of the information that's out on the posting. And if it's not there, it's just a matter of phoning human resources. And there is a grid that we use with steps and also levels. So she
Yeah.
could tell you the estimate, yeah, or give you a round figure starting salary. But yeah, Robbie's moved on. Great guy, lots of energy. I knew felt like it was a stopgap, but hey, all the power to him.
Oh,
He's
for sure.
young and ambitious.
Congratulations.
It's posted already that he took that job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And he's very-
online.
So, Mayor, you're saying Doug Dume might in the interim fill any of those things, like
Right.
do something like that?
Yeah.
Maybe
Or we can
ask
get
him.
the chair of environment and sustainability that is part of his mandate of the environment sustainability standing committee is the mayor's task force on active transportation. That's Councillor Tweel.
Okay. We can, yeah, well, he's the public persona, right? Okay,
So-
I could ask him. Alrighty. I'll work with your public relations department and see if we can come up with something on that. Once we have the date.
I don't see the job posted yet there, but it'll be up. But it'd be great if Silly Robbie made an appearance there on CBC to entertain all the children to come to the opening. I don't know if he's still doing that, but that would be fabulous if he ever went on there and did that for the kids and the mom and dads heard.
Well, you know what, Margaret, I'll reach out to him.
I think it'd be a great idea.
Yeah, I'll reach out to him, see if he'll do, and we could put some ads up on commercial radio too. CFCY, Q93, and Ocean 100.
Well, you can do those all for free, just on their public relations, their public service broadcasting. Yeah, you can, and that's the traditional way of doing things, is send it right out to them and ask them to put it on.
Yeah, so I'll take note of that. I'll speak to Robbie about it.
And I think the time of day is excellent. Especially for families and that's, that's who we need to look at, and that's who we need to attract.
But Margaret, just remember that 2 o'clock is 2 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So that's why I was thinking, if it can't go at that time or move it, but I'm just thinking in terms of attracting and looking towards active users, there's definitely much more younger people that are doing that cycling, and I don't I think to attract them and to grasp them and to bring them into it, I think there's all kinds of ages, but it'd be so great if it's something that it could be put out even to the schools, like, hey, on 2 o'clock on this date, this is an active transportation opening. And I don't know what that would look like or if it could look like anything, but I just wanted to share that I thought about that.
Okay.
That idea.
Okay. No, that's not a bad idea. No, that's good. Yeah, so we could encourage schools, if they wanted to, ride out to the starting point for the opening of the Riverside Drive bypass active transportation pathway.
Yeah. Even if you got one school, one class, it would be awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so there's possibilities here. I'll follow up with Robbie. As for the schools, we can note that in the minutes that someone could follow up from environment and sustainability to look at that as a possible addition to the opening up the active transportation pathway on Riverside Drive.
Well, you've got one school right there, Francois Buot.
CISA? Yeah.
That's what I was thinking too. We have that school there. I'm not sure if the enrollment number's there either. It might be easy for them to take that on. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, they're up to about 300.
Okay, good news there. Yeah, so do we, I don't mind reaching out to the committee.
Reaching out to the.
Is that what I'm just trying to get clarification. If I'm taking on a job here, I want to know what I'm supposed to do in regards to the school so that they get information around it.
That's a good point. Good question.
How do we communicate that to
Ramona?
Schools specifically? Like, I know they have newsletters, like I am familiar that some schools have newsletters that go out. So yeah. Anyone else know about that stuff?
A little bit, but I'm thinking that's around the Terry Fox Go for a Run kind of day too, that Friday around the 19th. Am I right? Does anybody remember that?
It is around that date. But again, that's just a matter of reaching out to the schools and to ask. And as Margaret said, Francois Buot is the closest school that could use the Acadian Drive pathway and come up onto the pathway and go right to the start using the pathway. They don't even have to go on the road.
I suppose the other issue, Mayor Brown, is would those bikes be at school? You know, they bus children in, like even from
They
my
do.
neighborhood because of the, it's a French school. So those children wouldn't have bikes at school, right? Like,
Well, let's reach out. Margaret, I will speak to Ramona tomorrow.
Okay,
And if she says, yeah, let's see what we can do, could she reach out to you to send out an invite to
absolutely.
Flavia?
Sure,
Est-ce que
absolutely.
vous parlez français?
Let me
Un peu?
see. Okay, it's,
C'est pas necessaire, but you know what? They do speak both languages, but it's really wonderful when you can speak them en français. Mais pas de problème. I'm not asking you to do that. Just at least reach out to them to say, hey, are you
sure,
interested? And if they want to, they can ride to school on their bikes and join us on the pathway at 2:00.
absolutely.
Okay. I don't know if you heard it, Margaret, but we were talking about maybe a 3:00 start.
Yes, I did hear that, and
Okay.
I think that's great too.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I will wheel around to Ramona Doyle tomorrow about the 17th, about a rain date, about starting at 3:00, and about also looking at contacting some schools and ask if they would join us for the opening ceremonies.
sounds good, Mayor Brown.
Okay. I got my walking orders or working orders. Okay. So the other thing I want to bring up is the issue of signage that Ken Murnion referred to in his letter to the editor. As you know, we have signage now throughout the city that talks about where we are with bike lanes. This is the bike lane. We could look at adding a sign to that signage that's already there, one below where it says bike lane, that it's required by law to wear your bicycle helmet when cycling.
Probably wouldn't hurt. It was interesting. My wife one day, we were talking about laws and things and bikes and the trail, and I said, I think we need more enforcement. She's like, no, everybody wears a helmet now. We don't need enforcement. I said, people don't wear helmets. And she's like, no, everybody. I said, your sphere of people wear helmets. And so we're driving down the road, and lo and behold, two people were biking with no helmet. And then a third person with no helmet, and then one person with a helmet, and then two more people without a helmet. So by the time we got home, it was probably like 11 people we had seen with no helmets. And it was something that she just didn't pay attention to. But from what I'm seeing, it's probably about half the people that are wearing helmets when they're biking. So I think the signage is a great idea.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think I think we are thinking about it, we still see signs, the seatbelt signs, we still see that after all these years. It's a very simple way to send a message, and it is the law.
Yeah. And we do have
someone
signage.
mentioned that to me from away that was in the bike lane, and they said to me that they thought it was funny that we have the bike, like we have the signs with the bike, the black signs, but there's nothing in there with a helmet on it.
Yeah, good point. Yeah. So there must be templates out there that we can use. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, but it should be a recommendation from the task force to the Standing Committee on Environment Sustainability that the city should place those signs, whatever they may be. It's by law. You're required by law to wear a cycling helmet when cycling, and post them just below the cycling lane signage.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would you need as many? Signage is very expensive. Would you need as many?
No, you could do them periodically. So, just spread them over randomly throughout the city. Yeah. The signage, Joanne, that's there for the bike lane, it's necessary to have it there because it delineates the bike lane from the roadway. So you don't need to, I don't think it's necessary to require all the signage to remind people that it is the law to wear a cycling helmet when you're cycling.
Yes. Yeah. No,
I
I
wonder,
totally agree.
yeah. I wondered about, I know that we have pictures of bikes, for the cycling lanes. I wondered if there was ever an opportunity that those bikes could be painted a different color. Like the ones I've noticed, they're white. And in other places, the whole lane is painted a different color, or the bike themselves are painted a different color. And I
Correct.
wondered if there was any options about that. And I was trying to recall whether or not our group had ever discussed that. Moving forward, because it really, really identifies it again. Like maybe I'm not looking up, but if I'm driving a car, I might say, oh, there's the green, like the fluorescent green or yellow or whatever it is. In our mind, it trains our brains to know automatically that that means that's a cycling lane.
Yeah, yeah.
The same as we identify the yellow on the lines, the white, and we identify wheelchair spaces are mostly that specific blue.
Yeah.
Was there any conversation within our group over the last couple of years regarding that? Does anybody recall that?
I don't.
I know we asked for colored paint, that green, and we've asked for it before, and it doesn't stay down as well. We were told
That's what I was thinking.
The snowplow just wipes it right off, and then they have to put it down again next year.
Well, we do that for the white paint too.
That's
Yeah,
right.
so is there an opportunity to take an area or space and just put that paint down and time it? Like how long is it really going to take? Because I'm not sure of the math or the science behind it or anything else like that, but I think that would stand out. That would really, really stand out if that's like, okay, that's a green cycling or active or AT line. I know at the bridge, when the line is green there, where I think you cross, I find I've had a lot of people say things to me about that color being there and how it's so noticeable.
We talked about it at the last meeting, if you remember, to make it look like a shared.
Yes.
When you use the bridge, Hillsborough Bridge, it has both cycling and pedestrians. So cyclists go on the outside, the pedestrians go on the inside. And they have it green, I believe, for the cycling, correct? Or is it green for the pedestrian?
Green for the cycling, I believe.
Okay.
And we've sent that motion to the Environment and Sustainability Committee, but we missed their deadline last month. And
so there's a meeting coming
now. So there's a meeting coming up. The deadline is Thursday of this week. And then it's the following, whatever day it is.
So there's a meeting coming up to add these signage for helmets. And what Margaret's saying, instead of writing something, symbols, we could use symbols, because when we look at a stop sign, it's a what is it? Six-sided? Hexagonal shape.
Octagon, is it?
Is it octagon? Is it 8 sides?
No.
But anyways,
someone step in and tell us what it is.
But your yield sign is an upside down triangle.
Okay? Yes.
So what I'm saying, if you come up with a symbol for a helmet, a cycling helmet, that can allow for people just to look at the image. Oh, you have to wear your helmet when you're on your cycle, on your bicycle, or when you're cycling. Yeah. There must be
a black silhouette, like like when they have that thing, it's like slow down children playing with the black silhouette. If you had like the cutout of the silhouette of a bicycle helmet on a white background.
Yes.
So there must be samples out there, and I think we should ask the Environment and Sustainability Department to look at some of those possibilities to add the signage. So the signage wouldn't be just words again. It would be a symbol, maybe with 1 or 2 words, but the less words, the more symbols. I think people, as you were saying, Margaret, they identify by symbols.
Yes.
And I think it is 8 sides, because I just did it out here. And 8 sides is referred to as octagon. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so that's what I'm suggesting. I really think we should pass something up to the Standing Committee on
I
Environment
will
Sustainability.
do that once again.
Yeah,
That's,
if you
I'm
don't
the
mind.
liaison, no, I'm the liaison person with sustainability. So I'll do another motion that they look at the signage for helmets. The symbol is important, and consider installing some of those for the coming year.
Yeah, I've just looked them up briefly here and there's all kinds of them.
Good, good.
Okay.
Yeah, all kinds. Yeah.
Well, I'll make that recommendation. We need a motion then. Can I have a motion that we ask them to come install signage for helmet enforcement in the city of Charlottetown?
Or wearing helmets. It's the law to
Wearing-
wear helmets when cycling. Yeah,
Okay, could I have a motion for that, please?
I'll move it.
Okay. And could I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Okay. And all in favor? Any opposed? Nope, motion carried.
I can't see Margaret's hand. Is it in the forest?
She's there. Okay, Mayor Brown, do you have anything else you want to
That's
discuss
it.
with us?
I really
Thank you very
appreciate it.
much for your attention.
Thank you, Joe. Hi, Margaret. Joe,
Hi.
thank you.
I got
I have
just-
to go to
You're
another
going to your
meeting.
meeting now for your energy?
Yes, it's out at Hillsborough Hall.
So there's just so you know, last month there was a breakthrough where the photovoltaic crystals, they're using crystals and they're lining them up in triplicate. And anyway, it's proof of concept right now, but it's increasing solar yield by 1,000 times.
Oh.
So that's a game changer for the environment if they can make this into production. So if that comes up, there was a game last month. This came out.
And do you have information that you could email me?
Yeah, it's the Martin Luther University. I'll send it off to you right now.
Okay. Thank you very much, Carrie, Margaret, Jason, Joanne. Have a great evening.
Thanks.
And stay safe, be smart, stay apart.
Good words.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Brown.
Au revoir,
I have-
Thank
madame.
you.
I apologize. I have company coming in again. It's busy summer. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is go to plan for the September meeting. That was the whole purpose, I believe, of our meeting tonight, was to come up with what we would have to do for the September meeting. And our guest is going to be, am I right? Is it Scott Adams from, I need to look at the end of those minutes, from the Parks and Recreation. Is he Parks and Recreation? Do we have that right? Anybody know?
I'm not sure.
Okay, but it's definitely Parks and Recreation person is coming. So I'll have to look that up. And Jason, I had asked if you could work with City Hall. We're going to be there in person. So if you could work with City Hall to show Peter's video again, or slideshow
problem.
of the things that he had identified. I think if we do that, that'll take in a lot of that.
It's Frank Quinn. I just looked it up.
Who is it?
Frank
Oh,
Quinn. is
Frank
his name.
Quinn. Thank
And
you.
Scott Adams is Public Works.
Okay.
Not mistaken.
So Frank Quinn is the manager of Parks and Recreation. Because I know, that's okay. Somebody else does parks separately, but yeah, he oversees their budget and things like that. So, excuse me. And primarily, Peter was identifying things that were on the trail, the washboarding, those things. Am I talking the right way? Does that sound familiar?
Yes. Yeah, there were some different things he had on the slides. And I know there was concerns from like the fiber optic channeling they're running and all of that, which they're still doing.
Has that cleaned up a bit? I haven't been in the province very much for the last month.
They're still hitting it up in different places. It's a mess. It was supposed to be done by December, and it's definitely blown past that deadline.
Okay, so that might be one of the major things, is to ask Frank to follow up on that, and ask him, perhaps he is following up on that, but what is the delay?
I think one of the other things too, and I'm not sure who to ask about this, but I have had people mention to me about how these new signs are great for the cycling, but how the lanes just abruptly end into oblivion. And I don't know if that's a public works thing or who brings that up. Maybe we should ask about that.
I think we can work on both departments, Jason. That's a very good point. It's probably a public works thing, because that would fall into the recommendation that we made, that in new construction, they start installing share pathways where there should be bike lanes and sidewalks, that they amalgamate or coexist into one thing. I don't think it hurts to bring that up. It's everybody's, has a portion of the budget.
Yeah,
But
I think it's
back
important.
to parks
Let's
and
just-
recreation. One thing that Peter had mentioned too was the what do you call it? The bike mechanic, the self mechanic thing. Do you know what I mean when I say that?
Yeah, station.
Bike repair. And it's apparently over the years had been vandalized when it was at Joe Giz Park. And he suggested that a good place to move it might be up closer to the farmer's market, a more central place. Are we all in favor of that recommendation?
I think, well, either the park or on campus at Holland College.
Leaving the trail and biking over to or walking your bike if it's down, whatever, over to the campus on Holland College. Yeah,
I think there's more people that would use bikes at Holland College on a regular basis, because the farmers market's only open on, like the weekend and Wednesdays, and then people typically don't go near that building. And I'm just thinking a lot of students might be the ones who would be having the flats.
Okay. And I guess the other thing is, just even when you're starting out cycling, wherever you park, you like to have a place to check your tires, or, we carry our own bike pump and a lot do. But that's something when people, if they were in the downtown, say they were staying at a hotel or an inn,
Yeah,
or
that's a good point.
whatever, they could go and pump up their tires before they get on the trail and head out for the day.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because there is quite a large space in the middle of that campus where people could gather to meet. And
so then again, once that's established, you need signage directing people to the bike repair thing, right?
yep.
So that's there. The other things I had there, does anybody else have anything else that they wanted? I think, like I said, Peter did it all up for us, as sort of his last thing that he was going to do. Joe Giz Park, bike fix-it station, potholes at Joe Giz Park, washboarding, runoff at Orlebar Park, where there's a culvert and cable laying. Potholes were getting deeper. Allen Street to Ravenwood has washboarding. Trails in poor shape all the way to Belvedere Avenue because of the fiber optic. So those were the things we talked about.
Yeah, you know what? I'll take a run up the trail here this week and just kind of follow up on what he was saying there and see if anything's changed.
Sure. And before I drove out the other day on Friday, I think it was Thursday, I did notice that they were cutting the grass on either side of the trail there down near Longworth Avenue, and I thought that was wonderful. You know, I didn't have to write an email and ask them to cut the grass. And I know that they're constrained with their budget with so many parks and so many pathways now being installed. Like, that is a constraint in his budget, and I'm sure he'll explain that to us. But when the Confederation Trail is so heavily used, I think we can stress that. And people need space to get by each other. They don't want to be in each other's faces, you know, the sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything else on that?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Should we move along then to reporting from Department Liaison, Public Works?
Nothing in my end. I was talking to Ramona. I hadn't mentioned to her when I was talking to her this week about that, where it stood with council on the recommendation, like to pass the motion for everything that was built to have a active transportation lane.
Okay. I'm just trying to keep muting here, people, keep the noise.
Yeah, no, I know, I don't have anything other than that. And I know that just that down on St. Peter's Road, they're making good progress on that. They put down the gravel this week, and I think they're going to pave it next week for the active transportation lane there. So that looks really good.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting what's going on in our city. Police, any report on that, Margaret?
I have nothing to report on the police.
I took a look at that photograph that the concerned citizen had sent to you, and I was shocked at how that bike rack had protruded out into the city street. And I asked my son-in-law has a similar one, and he said, well, I always close it down. If I don't have the bikes on it, I close it down. But this individual obviously had left it out, and you know, when he did his bikes, and we as individuals always close up the sides of our bike rack when we're not using it. So it is a hazard. It is a danger. I don't know if it go to highways and transportation and ask them if they can put out any bulletins on that, or what do you think?
Well, I sent them through to the police and the bylaw officer, and you know, he just said that they do see them, but there are ways to, he seemed to think that one looked like an older one. He just said that the newer ones kind of collapse on their own, but from time to time, people may forget that. But it definitely could be definite hazard.
Seems
It
like
wasn't anymore.
Yeah, seems like a long time to wait till Bike Week next June to educate the public on things like that. I don't know. Maybe the city could put something on their website, like on bike safety or bike protocol. We could ask for that. That again would come under sustainability, right? Because it's one of those things. So how about we put that on the agenda, or make short notes for when we meet with a sustainability person that they consider that sort of safety around bike racks or car bike racks. Is that what we say?
I think that's what the term would be. It's a whole different way of looking at the world. It's kind of changing the lens and how you see the world and what are hazards. As a biker, it's exceptionally important to be able to do that. But it's also thinking about the folks that, you know, maybe that could be a hazard you're creating for them, you know, when you're trying to avoid them all. So I think education is the key on that.
Yeah, well said.
For sure.
Okay. Thank you. All right, sustainability. That's my job here. The liaison. So we covered the opening of the bypass highway phase 1. Signage for helmet enforcement, I will follow up on that. Okay, what I noticed from the minutes, and I apologize, I've been away a lot. Joanne will follow up to see if signage can be installed at the Confederation Landing parking. So I think what I'm just going to do is do up an email and ask, say, these are things that we've covered at our most recent, which is last month or July's meeting. And that was one thing. And another one, okay, so the signage on the Confederation Landing Park that bicycles aren't permitted. And it's important to have that signage there, particularly down where the bike rentals are. That was pointed out to me, that you've got people going and renting bikes on Lower Prince Street there by Founders Hall, and yet they're not allowed in the park, and rightly so. So we need to let them know that. And the concern about cycling on Victoria Row, it's still seen by some people that this should be a shared bike pedestrian area. Although at our last meeting, we talked about the fact that, you know, children have danced in the street for special occasions. It is a complex issue because, and we talked about how people gather and watch the music venue and whatnot there across from Fishbones, and the music venue that's by the Confederation Center. Peter wrote and said, on Victoria Row, it's more complex. The issue for me and others is the absent Victoria Row as an east-west connector. We're forced to cycle either 2 blocks south on Dorchester or take Grafton or Kent. Both Grafton and Kent streets present significant dangers to the cyclist, graver dangers than the issue of pedestrians and cyclists sharing Victoria Row, I think. So that was his position. In recent years, Victoria Row is closed to cars, and he wonders if that could be changed to open as a shared pathway. What are your thoughts on that again? Have you had any other thoughts? I was supposed to talk to Ramona and see what the original thinking was behind that.
I think kind of like Peter said, I don't think he's got his heart set on that one specifically, having talked to Peter, just BFC hat. But it's more like, yeah, there is no east to west connector downtown. There is no safe connector for cyclists. So if not on Victoria Row, then where? Well, so I think it's like, where do we, that's a serious lack that's a gap in the network that's starting to get really nice around the edges.
Well, I think the thing about coming downtown and the problem with all of this, and especially when I got involved with Fitzroy Street, is that, like, they're now seeing the value in this and spending the money properly. When Fitzroy Street was architected, it wasn't architected. It was, we have some money, we got some funding, let's throw it at it, right? And that amount of money was not what we need for Fitzroy Street. Like, it doesn't matter what street we have going downtown, call it Fitzroy, call it whatever street, Kent or whatever. They're going to have to spend between, I would say, probably $5 to $8 million to do something properly, to have a proper, safe corridor, right? And I think it should happen. You know, my thought on that is that we need to have one of the sidewalks closed on one side, and that becomes an active transportation trail, because we have 2 sidewalks in every street, right? I think it's a long-term project. I don't think this is an area, especially with all with everybody who's involved, the stakeholder from the businesses to safety and all of that. I think it's a very complicated. It's not like the hospital where, you know, the city has the land, you just put it down. There's a huge amount of people with their interests and, you know, residents and parking. I mean, it's so complicated, but people have to be part of that process. That's what I would like to see, is identify an area and then work on getting rid of one of the sidewalks. And I think that would fit all the criteria for everybody. I just don't know how you go about that and where you get the funding from.
Well, if there's ever going to be funding, it's around, it's out there. I mean, the city can apply to the National Active Transportation. The city could apply to the local or the provincial active transportation. But right now, the city can't do everything. So they're working on phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 in response to that original 2012 report, so that, cyclists can get from one end of the city up to the other or out to the trail and access the rest of the province, I guess. But yeah, Jason, all those points are very well taken. I agree with you 100% that, we need a proper safe corridor for cyclists to share a sidewalk. Like you said, put a sidewalk on one side of the street and the other, make it a shared pathway. I'm very much in favor of that. But
well, it was just like when the Fitzroy plan came out, like I cycle, like when we first moved back from Montreal, we used to cycle to get our groceries, like we were hardcore. And I saw like the problems that were out there. Like you're trying to get home, you get groceries, like there were so many things, right? And just when this whole process came up, like they were talking about removing parking in front of churches, and like old people who have mobility problems didn't have a place to park when this plan came in, right? And it was kind of like we need to secure the funding, so we're going to just push it through, right? And there were so many people that were affected. I think the sidewalk notion, it leaves everything intact. Like we don't have to take away any parking, and we don't have to have people don't have to lose anything. We're gaining because we already have 2 sidewalks, right? So, and on St. Peter's Road, that's what they're doing now. Like one side of that road is active transportation, and then the other side is actually a sidewalk. So that's what they're doing.
I agree, Jason, that it will and should be a long process. And I think because it's going to be a long process, perhaps now we should start asking, like, okay, so where are we at? Are we gonna start this process again? And has it been long enough that we could start looking? Like, yeah, Joanne, if you're gonna just send an email, we can just start asking. What's this? Where are we now with that in the plan for the next few years? Like,
yeah, long-term plan, right? Like
it's a major
got
gap. It's a major gap in the network that they're building, and they're doing a great job. But the fact that you can't get from one end of downtown to the other safely is probably the Hillsborough Bridge was one big gap, and now I'd say this one is the most.
The east-west corridor.
The east-west,
right?
Yeah, wherever that ends up.
But the thing is, too, like people put all of this like spotlight on downtown, and it kind of makes me cranky because there's so much more to the city than downtown. Like if I hear one more person say something about we got to get to Victoria Park, I'm like, we've got so many parks and so many cool places outside of Victoria Park. Like we should be directing people to other parts of the city, because that park is going to become so busy that destination, like we need to diversify where people go. Like it can't be the destination. We need to say, okay, we've got Andrews Pond now, we've got really cool trails around there, like that stuff has to be mixed up. And also like that trail that he's talking about, putting up University Avenue straight from Euston Street all the way up the avenue, I think that's like the biggest no-brainer of what they need to do next. Like that is the way to get downtown. That just checks a lot of boxes to do that.
Agreed. All right, well, let's just put all this as a work in project, and we'll ask those questions. And all I can say is, I can word up an email including some of those points, let's say, and send it out to you for a yay or a nay or improvement, and then send it to the committee. And we'll look at these things as sort of, we'll just keep asking, keep lobbying, right?
Yeah. The other component of this too, I know, and I brought it up several other times, and I wish they could get something in there, but snow removal and keeping those pathways clean. I think it's really important.
Well, that is
all
a
the
good
stuff,
point, and that's when
all
we
the stuff gets built, and then it's going to come.
Sure.
And honestly, like, to spend all this money, and to, you know, October comes and you go, oh well, you know, good luck with that until May rolls around, and then you're, you know, it's pretty again. So.
Well, no, that's a good point, and we can talk to the public works person, Scott Adams, when he
Yeah,
comes,
no, that,
you
so
know,
that's
and have
perfect.
that discussion. Okay, the
Yeah.
other thing under sustainability was the mayor received, I don't know how many of you got a copy of this. We all did, I think. The mayor received a detailed email from a tourist who went from
Yes.
one end of the island to the other. So the part that applies to the city of Charlottetown was titled Small Business and Investment Opportunities. And I just want to reread this one paragraph to you. Access to secure bike parking in the urban core is critical to having cyclists spend dollars in our communities. There's nowhere safe to lock up a bike overnight in Charlottetown or Summerside. The group of four spent $2,000 in 24 hours in Charlottetown. However, we nearly didn't because we couldn't find a place to store our bikes. We ended up tracking down the cousin of a friend who had an aunt who let us lock our bikes in her garage in the city. Talking with residents, it seems that bike theft and secure bike parking is an issue. That's true, and prevents downtown workers from cycling to work. Creating a bike locker area in part of one of the parkades on Queen Street would be a boon to active transportation users and cycle tourists alike. Again, that's something Peter Ruckavina had identified several times. I remember him bringing that up, creating a bike locker area in the in one of the parkades. So in response to that, could I have a motion that we make another recommendation to sustainability and environment that they find the funds or make the recommendation to Public Works that this bike locker area be installed?
I'll move that.
Okay, and seconder, please. Carrie, you can second it. Thank you. Is there any more discussion? What's a bike locker look like?
It's a good question. I think they'd have to have some kind of secure spot, like, you know, I mean, it probably would maybe have like an upright where you'd have hooks, kind of like, you know, you have hooks in your ceiling where you can hang your bike tire off of or something like that. I don't know. It all depends, I guess, on the space and the size and
Okay.
getting the key and that kind of thing. You know, maybe it could be something that the city, you know, you pay a deposit, or I don't know how it works, but they would have to make sure about liability and those types of things as well.
Oh dear. Okay, that's always a thing. Because like I know we've cycled in Quebec and at inns and beds and breakfast, and they would have, like you said, a shed, and they'd haul our bikes up on the side of the wall, right? And another one, they had chains, and they chained our bikes to the bike rack, you know. But the employees that are in the parkade, are they there 12 hours, 24 hours? How does that work? Anybody know?
Anybody can get in the parkade, but you definitely want to make sure that it's locked, because there are thefts that happen in the parkade. So.
Okay. So if you had a bike rack, you'd have it somewhere near that employee's booth, I guess, that it could be supervised, or you'd have cameras on it.
I don't know how it would work unless they get a code. Like, they could do one of those things where they put a digital lock on it, and you know, you can now make a digital lock, have your code expire after so much time. There's always a physical key that goes along with that, so a city representative could have that key in case the code goes too long, not long enough, or they get locked out. So I guess it's more semantics. They just have to figure out how that would work. You know.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I bet you other cities have these things. And so if I Google bike locker area in Parkade and see what comes up in the other cities. It would give us some inspiration or idea there. But anyway, let's make the motion and let's put it in their court to say that this has been requested and people want a safer place to lock their bike overnight. I think that's the thing, right? For overnight parking. Can we have a vote? Are all in favor of the motion?
Yes.
All right, there's 3 of us on the Zoom right now, so motion carried. We're still a quorum. Thank you. So I think that's, I don't want to keep talking. Offer to follow up on this. Okay, so I think I've covered everything I had for sustainability. Cycling PEI, any report?
Nothing on that end, no.
Okay, bike friendly Charlottetown. Actually, bike friendly communities.
It is communities. That's okay. I don't really have anything to report really this month. Stuff's in the works, but I may have more to share next time.
Thank you, Carrie. All right, new business. Is there any new business?
I don't think so. Did anybody ever the new members, are we in the minutes it says the request should be made, I think by us, to Environment and Sustainability, that we need to replace 2 members. I don't know if that's a formal process.
Yeah, because I had mentioned it in one of my emails to Doug Dume last time, and he just said there's quite a process for it. That's all he said. And then Mayor
Okay.
Brown was at our last meeting and said that we had to request it.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Would anybody, Ramona's going to hate all my emails. No offense to her, but I'm just saying, I don't know. Is it better to get one long email, or would somebody else like to write and say that we need 2 more members on our committee? Or just want me to add it in?
I mean, I could send one. I don't know if it might be better to have it all in one place, or maybe that would get lost. I could send one to her.
All right, I'm in favor of that.
What? Okay. Carrie Reynolds. Okay.
Yeah, just say a discussion was or followed, and the mayor's task force is making the following recommendation. We don't have to have a motion. Recommendation that 2 more members be or 2 more members replace the previous 2 members' terms that have expired. Words to that effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll come up with something.
Okay, thanks, Carrie. Is there any other new business?
Nope.
We're good.
All right. 7:04. Are we ready to adjourn? Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank